Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well and having a great Sunday night. Tonight we're going to be talking about the potential for a tropical system next week, and then we'll also be talking about the severe weather potential for next week, and we'll really just be breaking that down in between the models, and we'll start off with the tropics, and then we'll move to the severe weather part for the other half of the video. And I will have chapters in the video, so feel free to skip to a part y'all want to see. If you want to see the tropics part, you can see that. If you want to see just the severe weather part, that's fine. Or if you want to see both, that's fine too. So any way y'all want to do that, and they should just be kind of divided into smaller segments into the tropics part and the severe weather part, so y'all can see kind of more in-depth details on that as well, but that'll be in the description below if y'all want to see that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So first, starting off with our tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and first we'll look at the 2-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And as you can see here, we do not have any areas that are expected to form within the next 48 hours from the National Hurricane Center. But if we look at the 7-day outlook here, and this is the latest 7:25 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time update for today, and we do have, they did introduce a new area into the Caribbean, and this is now a 40% chance of developing into a tropical system within the next 7 days. And so this will be really the only part about the tropics we'll be talking about tonight. And we'll just kind of discuss what could form maybe out of this, where it might form, looking at the signals from the different ensemble models, and I'll really just be looking at that in this video. But kind of as I said in the last video, I kind of expected there to be an area that was introduced here, just because of the ensembles were showing such strong signals at this range, and the GEFS was really the main model to show this a lot more than the others. So that signal was just increased, and the EPS ensemble has kind of went along with that as well. Not as extreme, but still does show that signal there. So but that is the latest area, and that is again a 40% chance in this area into the Caribbean. And so we'll look at the weather models in just a second. So first, you're looking at the GFS, and this is the 18Z GFS. And so what we'll be doing is just looking at a few of the global models, and then we'll move to the ensemble models and compare them, and just see what we could potentially have next week. So again, this is the 18Z GFS, and so we have again all this moisture down here into the Caribbean, and so by next week we could see some organization showing up on the GFS here. Maybe a low pressure gets developed here into the kind of southwestern Caribbean there, and then we finally get a low pressure that develops maybe sometime late next week. This shows a Thursday or Friday storm getting going here, and so that will continue and head kind of east, and then make a turn to the north and impact I really won't say any specific areas, but at this point really just the Greater Antilles. We'll just have to continue to watch this system, potential system, not a system yet, but a potential system in this area, because we still don't know where this could go. I mean, it could go a lot farther east, it could go a lot farther west, and it may not even be a strong system at all. And hopefully that's the case. It's not really a strong system, but the sea surface temperatures in this area in the Caribbean are very warm, especially for this time of year, and so this is really going to have a great atmosphere to develop into a system if something does get going and develops out here. So that'll really be there won't be anything limiting the development of a system here. The only thing really now is just to wait and see how the models play out over the next couple of days, and then as we get into late next week where we have to watch that time frame. But again, shown on the GFS here, this would eventually get a system to the north and kind of hit maybe the Dominican Republic, and then head to the north there into the Bahamas. But again, this is just well far out into the realm. This is 258 hours out, so I'm just gonna say this will probably not happen, just because this is so far out in the run. If I go to a run previous to this, prior to that, you have a totally different low pressure, and then we have two different areas of low pressure there. Before that, one way up here, so it's not really reliable too much after that. Really, kind of 7 to 10 day mark. But again, that is just something to look at. And so then we'll go to the European real quick here, and we'll go to the 12Z run here. And so the European has kind of hopped on board with the GFS a little bit, and it's been showing some more signals, especially on the ensemble model. But on the European, again, not as strong, not as severe as the GFS has been showing. And then going to late next week into Friday and Saturday, still have all that moisture down there, and it does not get a system really getting going until maybe next week, and or early, not this week, but the week after next. So that'll be something to watch as well. But again, the European does show a little bit of something here. How strong it'll be, that'll be something we'll have to continue to figure out as we get more model runs and closer to this time frame here. But again, that is the the European there. And now going to the Icon model real quick, and then we'll go to the ensemble models, and then going back to the original, not the original, but the start of the run here. And so still going all the way through here, still some moisture kind of moving in, and some storms and showers there. And then you go all the way into Wednesday and Thursday of next week, you have more moisture that gets into there, and storms. And then here's the time frame we'll have to watch. We'll have to see if anything is able to get going. Maybe right here seems to be the kind of ideal area that a system could potentially form. And then that's the end of that run, the 18Z run. Then we go to the 12Z run. It just has that moisture hanging out here. We even have some moisture up here, kind of north of the Greater and Lesser Antilles there. And then we finally get a low pressure that tries to develop maybe sometime next weekend. And that's the end of that run. And we just kind of have a slight low pressure here, maybe with some kind of disorganized storms there and showers. But again, that is the Icon, and it's kind of similar to the European model. But really, out of most of the global models, the GFS is the most intense at this time. So we'll have to see what the GFS shows, and what the other models look like when we compare them, because the GFS has a tendency to be pretty intense sometimes. So we'll just have to continue to watch that. And then finally looking at we'll look at the GEFS ensemble first, then we'll look at the EPS ensemble. And then first here, looking at the ensemble members. And again, this is basically like an average of members put together to find areas of lower pressure, not lower pressure, but areas that we need to potentially watch that other members show areas of low pressure. And that just kind of highlights areas here in those kind of greenish to blue colors to show where we could potentially have a system, if that makes sense. But again, we do have that signal down there by late next week, Thursday and Friday, large kind of broad signal here, and then a very intense signal there, even some way up here to the north of the Lesser and Greater Antilles. And then we finally get into next weekend, and we have lows all over the place here, showing something going on here. And what kind of worries me here is it's just a very strong signal at this time frame, and pretty broad too. So we really can't, as bad as I hate to say it, we really can't rule out this going a lot farther to the west. So I mean, obviously if you live in the Greater Antilles here, I would continue to watch this, but still areas farther to the west, I would also watch that as well, because we still don't know how this system is going to play out. It's just too far out to tell at this time. But again, that is the GEFS ensemble with all those, with that large signal all the way up into here as well. Just this very large signal with the most intense members being down here into the Caribbean. And then finally looking at the EPS ensemble here. And again, like I said earlier, it's kind of jumped on to the bandwagon of the GFS, and they've kind of been showing, the European has kind of been, EPS has been showing a lot more intense members here. Not a lot more intense, but more intense than the other video that I did. Again, going into, let me go back. Sorry if I keep going too far forward here, but going into next weekend, we have a little bit of a signal here, and then we go into Sunday, that signal begins to grow, and then by early, not this week, but early next week, we have this very kind of broad signal again, and a intense signal there again, with some of those members kind of going to the west and some way out here as well. So that'll be something we'll have to continue to watch, and really just only thing we can do right now is just wait and see how these models continue to show this potential system, and how quickly it's able to develop, and just really where it really where it may go in the future. So we'll just have to continue to watch that. Now switching to the severe weather part of this video, and first looking at the Storm Prediction Center, and this is the latest day 1 outlook, and we just have a general thunderstorm risk here in 2 parts of the northwestern United States there. And then if we look at our day 2 outlook here, we have some areas of general thunderstorm risk out here into kind of Utah, Nevada, into parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado, again into the northwest U.S., and then up here into parts of the Great Lakes. Then going to our day 3 outlook, we do have a large marginal risk, and I do expect this to get upgraded kind of as we get closer to this time frame. And this is all the way from parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin all the way to the south into parts of South Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. And but again, this is a pretty large marginal risk, and I do expect this to be upgraded just a little bit as we get closer to that time frame. But again, that'll be on day 3, and that would be on Tuesday, October the 29th. And then looking at day 4, which is Wednesday, October the 30th, we have a slight risk, a 15% risk, which is an automatic slight risk at this range, and that is into parts of Texas, quite a bit of Oklahoma, into western Arkansas, and then into parts of central and western Missouri there, and then into eastern Kansas there. And then for our day 4 through 8, we have a predictability too low here for day 5, day 6, day 7, and day 8, and that means the predictability is too low to introduce any severe weather risk at this time, just because the models are kind of scattered and there's not a lot of confidence in specific areas at this time. So first here, really only looking at the GFS and European for this, and so looking at our systems here for that severe weather risk, we're going to have kind of that first, here's our low pressure. We're going to have our first kind of severe weather event maybe into Tuesday into probably Wednesday, really late Tuesday night into Wednesday, and that'll be the time frame we'll have to watch kind of into, again, these areas right here. And here's our low pressure that'll be responsible for that severe weather risk as well. And then we could see another kind of secondary severe weather risk with that low pressure continuing to move to the north, and we have that surge of moisture up into kind of the central U.S. as well, and that'll continue on to the east, and that will eventually head out probably by late next week. And then we'll have our other system here, and then you can see that low pressure kind of right into this area here, and so we have all this moisture here that will get surged to the north, and this will be the system we'll really have to watch for our severe weather event here, because this will be a pretty potent system for this time of year. And you'll just have, again, this is kind of getting pretty far out, and so don't really pay attention to some of these specific areas, but this will be a very potent system at this time frame. And we'll just have to watch this kind of as we get really throughout this week, and as the models get closer to this, and we'll have to see kind of what areas may receive a severe weather risk with this. But again, going back to the first system here and looking at our low-level jet with this system, you'll have a pretty potent low-level jet on Monday, tomorrow on Monday into Tuesday, and then eventually with that severe weather risk Tuesday night into Wednesday, and you'll have that very strong low-level jet for this time of year again, and you will have some instability, but again, it's just too far out to pinpoint some of those finer details right now. But really the big thing to watch, we're watching here, is this strong low-level jet Tuesday night into Wednesday, and that'll be one of the main things we'll have to watch for that system there. And so going back to moisture here, we'll go to dew points, and so you'll have some very moist air into Texas and Oklahoma, but you'll only have dew points into the upper 50s throughout much of Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, into parts of Nebraska and Kansas. And then by Wednesday, you may have that moisture kind of surging farther to the north, and you'll have that richer moisture there, and with even some upper 60s dew points down here into parts of the kind of Arklatex region as well. And then looking at our secondary severe weather setup here for not this week but next week, you'll have an even kind of broader kind of moist low-level jet, and that moist air will get pushed up here into the central U.S., and we'll really have to watch that system as well. And we'll have I would say we'll probably have quite a potent low-level jet with that as well. But going back here and finally looking at our mid-level cyclonic vorticity here, and so looking at our first system, you can really see that kind of positively tilted trough there for our first system, and this will be quite a bit farther to the north there compared to this other system. But then we have this other system, a very strong system, again still positively tilted, but this one will dig a lot farther to the south and kind of push all that moisture and that those dew points up into the central United States. But again, that'll be something we'll have to continue to watch as we go throughout this week and next week. So that's going to be it for tonight's update. I really do appreciate all of y'all watching, and I do apologize for being kind of quick or rushed, but I'm just trying to get these shorter so y'all can get as much information as possible without me kind of dragging out the video and just kind of keep yapping on stuff. But again, that'll be it for tonight's update, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's Sunday night.